All right, we're live. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. I've got my good buddy Michael Merzke joining us tonight. Going to talk a little CNC stuff with him. Just something's going on with the chat over there. Just got disconnected or something. I don't know what's up with that. May have to refresh that in a minute. But I'm assuming y'all are still out there, can hear us. Do want to talk about a couple of things real quick before we get started talking with Mike. One thing, I had Ralph Bagnall on last week, and I just want to remind everybody that he has a lot of those Wood Academy videos on Amazon Prime. So if you're, well, it's on, I guess it's on Amazon, but if you're an Amazon Prime member, and especially like me, if you got a smart TV, you can kick back in your recliner and watch those Wood Academy videos. He's got a lot of great stuff over there. I was watching one today on a chair he was making. He also has some CNC stuff too. So be sure to go check that out. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention, Michael Chipser, I call him my IT guy. I don't know if he realizes he's my IT guy, but I call him that. He sent me a message the other day, and he's got a boatload of Dell laptops, I think. He got a bunch of them, and he's going to refurbish them. And I think he's going to sell them for about $50 plus shipping. Don't quote me on the price, but I think that's what it's going to be. And I'm going to have to try to refresh this. So bear with me a sec because the chat's just not cutting it. See if I can get that going again. But yeah, he's going to be, I guess, refurbing those, and they'll come with, well, I don't know if all of them will or not. I don't know what kind of operating system. Because I asked him about it, and he said, told him I wanted one. He said he'd get Windows 7, which is probably one of my favorite operating systems. I wish it was still around. A lot better than Windows 10. All right, I don't know what's going on with YouTube here. We'll try this again. Like I said, I'm assuming y'all are still out there, but I'm not seeing the chat. So let me get it back up.
Yeah, the chat's rolling.
Okay. I have the two laptops, and I have one kind of set. Yeah, there it is. And I always pop out the chat where I can see it from behind this other laptop. But for some reason, right when we went live, it went all clunky. Yeah, I think it's coming back. Maybe it's the pop-out thing that's not working. Okay, I'll just leave it on that then. Okay, so let's see. I've talked about Michael Chipser, Ralph Bagnall. One other thing I want to talk about, you'll notice the view behind me here is a lot different than it was last week. The old Sidewinder's gone. Well, it's not gone. It's right here in pieces, but I'm going to be putting together a GarageWorks 4x4 back there, and just got my table framed up here and all that. So anyway, it looks a lot different back there. And you notice I have a clean slate back here. I got a white wall. And I thought, I have never made a sticker wall or a sticker anything. I got a whole bunch of stickers that I've collected over the years. And I thought that since I'm starting out with a clean slate, if anybody would like their sticker, logo, whatever, prominently displayed during this show and during videos I shoot, send me your latest and greatest sticker, and we'll start putting them. I probably won't put any up until I get the machine built, because I want to make sure I put them where the machine's not blocking them. Also going to hang my my little Texas meetup plaque in the Stockbridge, Georgia plaque from last September, and I'll hang stuff like that up there as well. But so if you want your sticker displayed, send me a sticker. You can find my address. It's in, if you look on Facebook, you can find it. I don't have any of that stuff hidden. Everybody knows where I'm at anyway. And also, speaking of stickers, my buddy Mike Fulton has come up with what I think it might be the next big thing. He's come up with these trading cards, and he's got like his YouTube stats. Of course, he says the thing is you get them made like for 2018, and then next year in January you get an updated one and update, just kind of like baseball stats. Card come out every year and they'd have their stats and stuff on them. I think it's pretty cool. But Mike Fulton has got a link on there somewhere on one of his videos. I can't remember. I think it's the one where he's doing the backgammon board, where he talks about the trading card. I think that's where it's at. But anyway, these are pretty cool. So if you want to get trading cards made, send me one of those and I'll display them back here. All right, enough of that. We're going to get started talking with Mike. Mike, you want to real fast introduce yourself? Like, I'm sure most people know who you are and everything, but just tell them where they can find you. I think I've got your links to your Merzke Custom Woodworking website and your YouTube channel in the show notes down below. So take her away, Mike.
All right. Name's Mike Merzke. Like Dave said, I run Merzke Custom Woodworking, which is when I have time. My day job, I'm currently in the Army. Been in the Army for a little over 22 years now, so trying to figure out how much longer I'm going. But it looks like I'll be in for at least another 2 or so years. So when I'm not jumping out of planes and stuff like that, I like to make sawdust. So you can find all my social media links over on my website, Merzke Custom Woodworking.
Yep. And what are you most active on? Probably Instagram?
Yeah, probably Instagram. Instagram and Facebook's probably where I'm most active. I guess that wouldn't be good for me to make a baseball card up. My YouTube stats might be going in reverse right now. But hopefully if I get some more time, we'll get back on the YouTubes.
Yeah, it's hard to get out there and keep up the YouTube thing. I know that for sure.
Well, when I started the business, that was one of the things I said was the commission client work came first, and the YouTube's just kind of my hobby thing. So I guess I can't complain that I don't have time to do YouTube. So
yeah, I would look at that as a good thing, actually. And also, I guess as you mentioned, you're in the Army, and so we thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
And also, you have your own Merzke Custom Woodworking business. So tell us a little bit about that, how long you've been doing it, and how all that came about.
As a business, I've been operating as a business for about 4 years now. I think actually, I think I just hit 4 years now. I've been a hobbyist for years. Did a lot of, and would do small, take on small commission work over the years, but it was usually just for a little extra money. And then as I started, getting towards the tail end of my military career, I started thinking about, what's next. And I was like, I wonder if I could actually make a go at a woodworking business. So I decided that I would start the business while I was still on active duty, and that way kind of have that safety net while I learn kind of how to operate a small business and start up the woodworking business. So it's just been kind of since then going at it. And I mean, I do it all. So pretty much, when I first started the business, everyone told me, because of course when you start a business, everyone becomes small business experts and has, lots of advice to give you. Everyone always told me, hey, pick one thing and don't do anything but that one thing. So I, of course, in true fashion, disregarded that advice. And so I tried to do anything and everything from, signs, plaques, furniture, built-ins, home renovations, anything.
Okay. So how does CNC come into play with your Merzke custom woodworking business?
Well, I guess, I guess when I first started the business, CNCs was one of those mystical creatures, that only these huge businesses had. Because then I always thought they were, $40,000 machines that only commercial shops had. I had a client that wanted me to make this plaque for him, but it was like an order for 30 or 40 of these things, and one of the things that needed to be cut into it, there was just no way that I was going to be able to replicate that 40 times without a CNC. And I started looking around to see if there was one, and that's where I actually stumbled upon the Shapeoko 2. It's a little 12 by 12 cutting surface, used a Dremel, and that was only $650. And this job that would have called for it, I would have made $600 off of it. So I of course bought the Shapeoko 2, put it together, did the job, worked out perfectly in that first job, and then it just kind of went from there. And then once you start down the road, as you know, Dave, it kind of laid you down. That wasn't big enough. So at about that time is when Inventables had come out with the X-Carve, and so they did the upgrade kit where you could convert a Shapeoko 2 to an X-Carve. So I did that. Then I needed something a little bit bigger. So then I expanded the size to what they have now. They sell as their kind of whatever large kit, the meter by meter, whatever. And then of course, one of the big products, and you've seen Dave, and if anyone, there's a lot of pictures on my Instagram if people want to see, but I make, actually there's one, the back of my shop, I make 2-scale American flags, either as wall or coin racks. And I do use the CNC to cut the stars out, but sometimes I'll do other things, like I'll do some engraving on some of the stripes or something like that. So something where I have to fit the entire flag into the CNC. And I quickly realized that I needed something bigger than that the X-Carve could provide, because that was roughly only about a 31-inch square cutting surface. And that's when I stumbled on the Garage Works, and and I've been going at it for a little over a year, almost year and a half now with the Garage Works. So
yeah.
If
you see me moving around, I'm still trying to get the chat.
Yeah. I mean, as far as how I incorporate the CNC into my woodwork, and like I said, I do some small things like cutting stars out. The stars I make for my American flag, I cut the shape out and then use a belt sander to actually shape the stars to. I have a small 2.8 watt laser on my X-Carve, or on my Garage Works, so I'll do laser engraving. I've done engraving on glass using a diamond drag bit. I've done some pretty big 3D carvings also with it. Probably the largest I did was a set of master parachutist badge that was roughly I want to say it was a little over 36 inches wide, out of solid sapelli. So
yeah, Mike, would you happen to have a picture of that you could screen share and show that by chance? Or
yeah, let me.
I should ask you that ahead of time, I guess. Because that is one awesome piece, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that was a really fun project. You know, I had done some smaller 3D carvings, and you know, I think it's just cool to be able to do the 3D and just see it, especially, you know, when you go from the, you know, your rough cut tool path to do that 3D finishing tool path and just watching that thing. That's such a cool, I don't know. I get excited watching that. But then you take something as big as those airborne wings, and I got a picture here somewhere.
While you're looking for that, Mike, Bob Heltebright is asking, can you use the laser on glass?
No. So, well, not the laser I have. You can use the laser on glass, but you got to have quite a bit more powerful glass or powerful laser. That 2.8 watt laser really only is good for engraving on wood. I've tried on glass. I've tried on plexiglass. Tried on a few other things, and you know, that pretty much just laughs at the laser. All right, let's see. Should be able to.
I hope. I don't know if y'all can hear it. There's some thunder rumbling out here. Yeah, I'm checking my radar now. Hopefully, we can make it through the show without a thunderstorm knocking me off here. But
all right. All right. Can you see that?
Let me present it. Have you present so it'll stay on there where everybody can see it.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. And that is how big again, Mike? 36?
Yeah, it's roughly about 36 inches wide. So the height of it is about 30 inches from the base of it all the way up to the top of the reed. Like I said, it was made out of solid sapelli. I made up a blank about 40 by 36 out of 8/4 sapelli. And then that shelf that the St. Michael statue is on, I then made separately, then affixed to the wings. But that's roughly about 50 hours. 30 hours of machining, and probably close to about 20 man hours of a mix of sanding and finishing. So if anyone does want to see that live and in person, they can go to the 82nd Airborne Division headquarters, and that is hanging right above the doorway that goes into the command group where the commanding general and Sergeant Major's office is. So
yeah. That I gotta tell you, Mike, that's got to be one of the coolest pieces I've seen come off of Garage Works, or any CNC for that matter. That thing is just awesome, and everybody in the comments over there is talking about how cool that is too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I am definitely, you know, as a master rated jump master myself. That'll definitely be one of my retirement presents to myself for my office.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so now you mentioned the flags you make. That's probably, and I'm guessing here, so correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably known for as far as Merzke custom woodworking, or no?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely my biggest seller. I get, you know, it was originally intended to just be a one-off, because that's usually what I specialize in one-off things. Usually when people come to me for a commission job, it's something, because they want something that they can't find elsewhere. And I had a friend of mine actually came to me asking, it was for a retirement gift for her husband, and she had shown me a picture of an American flag coin rack that she had saw on like Etsy, and it didn't have the right amount of stripes, didn't have the right amount of stars, and it was, you know, and it was way overpriced for, you know, what it was attempting to be. And so she asked if I could make something like that but bigger. So for those of you that know me, you know I might have a slight issue with OCD. So I started doing research, and well, I found out the U.S. flag actually has its own website. But not only that, they have the ratio on that website for what the width of the stripes are to the, I mean, everything. So I made an American flag out of wood using sapelli for the red stripes, maple for the white stripes and stars, and walnut for the Union. And I made it 100% to scale of an actual American flag. And I thought it was going to be a one-off thing. And like 3 years later, I'm still making them.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm by no means as OCD as you call it. You know, we give you a hard time about that, I know. But I've been wanting to make a flag for like just wall art, you know. But I'm kind of like you know, if you're going to make one, I want it to be exactly to scale. And I guess, you know, that's just one of those things, you see flags all the time and you don't really think about, you know, what size different things are. But it's kind of or at least I thought when I did the research on it, it's kind of a weird scale.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think that's the best way to make them. And your flags are great looking stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually made an Excel document that I inputted all the ratios into it. That way, depending on what size. So, you know, for the flags I make, I traditionally make them just in 2 sizes, and then I have 2 different styles of flags I make. But that way, if I do need it, because like that one that's back there is actually way bigger than I normally make. That one is actually 5 feet wide. And that's the biggest flag yet that I've made yet. So, you know, I had to kind of modify all those ratios again, which was easy because I just input one measurement and it calculates all the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So of all the things that you've made with CNC, whether it be for your own use or for a client, what is probably the coolest and the most fun thing you've ever made?
I would say those master parachutist badges. I mean, just something of that size and the detail, like if you've seen in the picture, I mean, every single one of those feathers on those wings, it just, that was a pretty cool project watching that thing take shape.
Yeah, we got another question from Bob over there in the chat. He wants to know, Mike, do you know how many flags you have made?
I would have to go back and look in my records. I have no idea offhand. I've hundreds of them. I'm not sure. I mean, I have shipped them all over the United States and even to several places overseas, to include Hawaii, England, Slovakia, and a couple other places.
Cool. So what, okay, so you've mentioned you started off with a little Shapeoko, went from there to an X-Carve, and now, of course, you got the Garage Works. What will your next CNC be?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm really, you working on designing another one?
No.
Honestly, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, this thing does everything I need it to do. Yeah. I have not had one situation yet come up to where I was like, oh, this couldn't even do it, or yeah.
Okay, well,
I
I
mean,
know
and I guess you know, a lot of people is going to bring up, you know, something bigger. So, and this is where I'm quickly realizing space is, or use of space is something that's just as important. So, you know, like we were talking before we went live, Dave, you know, I mean, the garage works, and, you know, my table's roughly about 57 inches square. So, I mean, you're looking at, you know, close to a 5 foot by 5 foot area of a shop that is gone, is taken up. So, you know, like for me, I operate out of a 20 by 20 garage. Um, and it's very easy to start filling it. I actually just recently got rid of my miter saw station just because of the size. I had this. A lot of people thought I was crazy for doing it. You know, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved that miter saw station I had. Not only was it a very good, you know, for as a work surface for using it as a miter saw station with, you know, T-tracks that way you could have adjustable stop blocks, it had storage in it, built-in dust collection. I mean, it had everything. And, you know, I was glad that it was able to find a good home, but it also took up a 4x8 footprint in my shop. So, you know, I think the garage works, especially for the kind of projects that I'm doing right now, I don't need anything bigger. I've yet had, you know, and I've been able to, I've put a bunch of my flags in here and either done laser engraving or carving out on some of my flags. So I've cut out different parts for different other projects. Last year I made a flat pack kind of display case for Wartooth Designs. Sarah, some of you guys might know her, and all on the CNC, cut it all out. You know, so I mean, everything I've asked it to do, it's done. So.
Yeah, well, that was a question I was getting ready to ask you. I know from watching your shop tour video, which, by the way, Mike's got an excellent shop tour video over there on his website, Merzke Custom Woodworking. Your garage works is kind of tucked in away in a corner.
Yep.
Correct. So is there any project you've had to do where you've had to kind of pull it away from the wall to index something, you know, larger than what the capacity is?
I pulled it out of the wall, not to necessarily do like tiling, but I did do a flag, and there was a little bit longer than the bed of it, so just to make sure that it was centered on the bed, so I could do that. I just kind of pulled it out from the wall a little bit, but you know, I have my stand or whatever, the little workstation that I built for my garage works on casters. So I mean, if I need to pull it out, it's not really an issue.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of projects have you got coming up in the future for for Merzke Custom Woodworking, or you know, that you might use the garage works on?
I've got a couple. The next one I'm working on is going to be, I've got a client that their son collects regulation size hockey pucks, and they want to have a little display case. So I designed a display for the hockey pucks that'll basically be able to display 20 different hockey pucks. And then it's also going to, because I mean, what kid who collects hockey pucks wouldn't want cool LED lights, you know, with a remote? So it's going to have some cool LEDs that'll kind of shine on the hockey puck. So I thought I had an extensive Forstner bit set, only to find out that I don't have one that perfectly fits a regulation size hockey puck. So I'm going to cut out all the circles.
I don't know what size a regulation hockey puck is, but I'd say that'd be a pretty big Forstner bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's 3 inches. So just about. It's a little off, but still, I think my biggest Forstner bit was 2.5 inches. So, but a 3-inch hole cutting saw it makes it just a little bit off, and it's not clean enough of a hole with that. So,
right.
So I played around, and so that way I'll be able to kind of cut it out, and then also have a little lip on the back so the hockey puck won't go all the way through, but it'll catch on the lip. So, like I said, that one's my next one. I've got a few small signs to do, and a couple more flags. It's always something, and it's usually a mix of different things. Kind of going back and forth with the client now. He wants some custom side panels made up for stereo, and I might use the GarageWorks to kind of work a little of that. So depending on some of the stuff on that, but yeah, it's always something. So
okay, all right. Well, let's kind of switch gears here a little bit and talk about how you do things with your GarageWorks. What software, CAD software, do you typically draw in? Are you a SketchUp guy, or do you draw in what do you use to draw your projects?
So the only thing I use SketchUp for is really designing for furniture, or if I need to model up a project for a client, just to kind of give them something to visualize. So I really don't use SketchUp in my kind of CNC workflow. Most of the stuff I actually draw up in Aspire, and I kind of upgraded over the time. So in the 3 years or so I've been playing with CNCs, I went from Cut 2D to VCarve to VCarve Pro, and then now Aspire. So is one thing I gotta say I love about that company is the fact that they'll let you upgrade for nothing more than the price difference of the software. So definitely took advantage of that. So yeah, so most of the time I'll draw everything up in Aspire and then do all the design layout and stuff, and then go straight into my tool paths right there.
Okay, and I know we have a lot of Mach 3 users. I'm, of course, one myself, but you use the UC CNC software, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a little simpler. I like the layout. I use the 2017 screen set that you could purchase for it. I forgot the gentleman's name that makes that, but one, it's got orange in it, so it matches the GarageWorks. But
yeah, I can't think of that guy's name either, but I know who you're talking about, because I bought that as well, because I still have UC UC CNC software.
Yeah.
And who knows, I may use that when I build this GarageWorks.
Yeah, and
have something different.
And I have a Mach 3 license, so I kind of was playing back and forth between the two of them. Like I mentioned before, I've got that 2.8 watt laser, and I was getting better results with the laser on the UC CNC. So that was one of, kind of my deciding factors. So I have 2 profiles saved. I have a laser profile and then a router profile. So depending on what I'm using the CNC for, I just kind of load that profile. So I've still yet to, I need to, I purchased your plans for the rotary access. I just haven't gotten around to building that
yet. Yeah. We got a question over here in the chat. I think you may have kind of already answered it, but it says, this is from Corey. He says, Mike, what is your workflow process from a new project idea, i.e. the 36-inch master parachutist sign, from 2D to 3D via software, and then how does UC CNC play into it as opposed to Mach 3?
Well, I guess we'll start with the end first. Just so Mach 3 and UC CNC are pretty much similar. They just control the machine. So that's your CAM, your computer-aided machining software. So that is what controls the machine. That's where you load your G-code file, the tool paths you used. So the two of them are pretty much almost identical. There's kind of some graphic user interface differences, but it's really pretty much the same. So as far as my workflow and using that is those master parachutist badge. So, you know, one being in the military myself, but then obviously living in a military town, I do get a lot of commission work for military related stuff. So that, for example, there's a website that I get all of my military-related 3D models from, and it's just cncmilitaryemblems.com. But what's kind of cool about them, the guy that runs it is he'll actually let you, if you send him, you know, something. You know, whether it's a military patch or a military badge or something that he doesn't already have modeled on his website, he'll do it for you. Like, so in the Army, I'm a military police, so I actually just recently requested that he do a 3D model of the military police badge, and literally within 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not sure what kind of queue this guy's working on, he modeled up a 3D model of the MP badge, and it's now for sale on his website. So I don't have to pay a designer $300 to $500 to do a 3D model for me. The guy just does it, puts the model up for sale on his website, and then I just purchase it there. So that's where I bought the model for the master parachutist badge. So you know, it was easy as just importing it into Aspire, and you don't need Aspire to do 3D models. A lot of people get confused on that. You only need Aspire if you're going to do the modeling. But VCarve Pro does all the same 3D toolpaths, and you can still modify the size and depth of your model in VCarve Pro. So actually, when I did that master parachutist badge, I still had VCarve Pro, so that is actually done in VCarve Pro. So so like for that project, I figured out what size I wanted to make. You know, I knew the client wanted a 36-inch wide wings, so I you know, I first kind of figured out what size of blank that I would need to make, milled up and then glued up a blank out of the 8/4 Sapelli, and then imported that 3D model into Aspire, and of course setting up my my job dimensions to match the blank that I had made, and then, you know, it was pretty easy from there as far as just kind of playing with the model to get the correct size, and then the depth of the model to fit. So normally you would keep everything kind of I guess trying to think of the word for that, just kind of all the ratios the same, the aspect ratios the same. But you know, for that project, I actually had to kind of make the depth of it a little bit thinner, because otherwise I would have just, the badge would have been too thick. It would actually been too thick for the machine to handle. I would have needed about another inch or so capacity, and it would have made it way too heavy to hang on the wall regardless. So it kind of worked that I kind of made the model a little bit thinner, But and then from there it was you know, once I had the model the size I wanted, and then I went using trying to think of the function in Spire where you can draw a vector around a 3D model.
Oh, to part it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it basically traces your 3D model just so it creates a vector, the shape of that 3D model. Then so I created 3 tool paths. One was the profile tool path to cut out the badge, and then I made the 3D roughing tool path and the 3D finishing tool path. So between the 3 tool paths, it was right about 30 hours of machining. So I probably could have pushed it a little bit faster. I usually err on the side of caution, especially when dealing with you know, over $100 of hardwood sitting on the table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We had somebody in the chat, I think it was Peter Pasquello, said that it's Jerry at CNC Woodworker that does that screen set. Yeah, I couldn't think of the guy's name, but it's Jerry, Gerry, is the guy that does that. We've had some other question here. I'm trying to remember all because some of them are scrolling by here pretty quick. But Mark Allen wants to know, Mike, how do you determine the depth of your 3D model?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep, when I do 3D models, I try to keep the aspect ratio 100% the same. You know, I've done everything from like Army crest, different other Army badges, like the Army drill sergeant badges, and I try to the best I can because, you know, your X and your Y axis aspect ratio. I mean, obviously, just like if you're playing with a photo and you kind of mess the aspect ratio of that, it's very visible that it's skewed. But some things, when the Z axis of a model, you actually can kind of change the way the appearance of it, especially depending on if there's the detail or text or whatever. So when possible, I try to keep everything, all aspect ratios locked, and so then you're just kind of scaling your 3D model in and out. But like with something as large as those wings, not only did I have the capacity of the machine to think about, I also had to think about that they were going to put this on the wall. You know, so just having the sheer weight of it was another issue.
Yeah, how much did that thing weigh when you got it all done?
You know, I wish I had weighed it, but I'm not sure. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah. Bobby wants to know if you're going to be coming to the Atlanta show.
No, that pesky day job of mine's got me traveling that week.
Oh, so. Man. Come on. Who do I need to call?
The Joint Chief of Staff. Let's go there.
Oh, okay.
Pentagon Help Desk. I don't know.
Well, I get tweets all the time from Donald Trump. Will it help if I tweet him back and say, hey, give Mike the day off, let him come to Atlanta. Come on.
I mean, at the end of the day, he is my commander in chief, so it doesn't hurt to try.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Ballard wants to know, do you use a spindle or router?
I have the DeWalt DW611 router.
Yep, and that's, 1 1/4 horse, I think.
Yep. And
it's a good little router.
Yeah, and I keep toying around with putting a spindle on there, but I don't know, that thing works. My biggest complaint with it is obviously you burn through some brushes every once in a while, but that's really it. That's really my only complaint I have with it. So
yeah. Yeah, I have one on the demo 36 by 24 I have in the garage, and it's a good little I did have an issue. The very first one of those I bought when I first started doing the garage works, I bought one of those because that's what the X-Carve had, and so I went with that. And the first one I had I don't know what happened to it, but first time I went to use it, you go to turn it on, it'd come on for about 3 seconds and stop. And I ended up having to return it. I bought it off of Amazon. I returned it and got a Porter Cable 450, which is basically the exact same router, except the Porter Cable doesn't have variable speed. But I've since bought another 611, and it works like a champ. I've never had any issue with it. Let's see. I'm trying to. Some people are putting their questions back in here. Says Mike. Oh, this is Eric at Gussie Banjo. Says Mike, you should do drawing videos, I guess.
No one wants to see that.
Let's see. Biker Mike 189. I don't know who that is, but he said, or I guess it's a he. Says, now where'd it go? Have you used digital probing for contour carves?
No, but I will say that I am curious about doing it. So I have done a little bit of research on it, and probes only take 2 pins. So if you have 2 pins open, 2 input pins open on like a breakout board, you could get a probe. I believe it is, I forgot what CNC company sells a probe for their CNC, and I've actually toyed around about buying it and trying to get it to work on my Garage Works. So basically it uses 1 pin to be able to tell any kind of side pressure, and then the other pin for downward pressure. So it would definitely be possible. But that's like, the probe was like $350 that I don't have. So
yeah. Hobby over there in the chat says he'll be making one in 2 weeks.
Well,
so
I look forward to watching that video.
I know he's talked about getting into doing the digital probe. So
yeah. And
he's one of them electronic nerds, So
yeah, he'd definitely be the one to watch.
Yeah. Let's see. Has anybody else got any questions, or anybody want to repeat one I may have missed? Jerry Brown says, when are you getting back to Texas? I want you to help me upgrade the control system on the Gatton. I guess he's talking about your. You got to jam up control box and all. I think you're one of the ones that everybody kind of. You set the bar pretty high on your control box with the wiring and the way you did everything. So I think that's what people kind of look to.
Yeah, I mean, and let me start by saying that I way, as I do with a lot of things, way overdid it. That is in no way needed to have a lot of fun with your CNC. I just wanted something that kind of looked like something you'd see on a commercial CNC for a control box. So that's kind of what I was aiming for.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Really cool. Let's see what else we got over there. Klondike says, have you guys tried the Precision Board HDU? I have not.
No.
That's like a signboard type stuff, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Just did a quick Google. No, I have not tried it. I do want to start playing around with some different materials. I've used all the different kinds of hardwoods, plywood, MDF. I actually have a PVC board actually up on my shelf that I bought probably a year ago that I wanted to play around doing some signage on that, and I just haven't got to it yet. So again, those pesky clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Klondike says it's like a hard foam. I think I've got a little sample piece that somebody sent me one time, and I don't know, I've just never had a reason to use that. So Ryan Ballard is saying, Mike, can you show the dust collection on your Paula bench? I think he means your Polk bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I just have the Festool setup, you know, with the Festool dust extractor, and then just with their arm just for sanding. So nothing kind of fancy. I just have it set up to where I can pretty much sand from either side of my workbench over there.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of sanding.
Yeah, I bet you do, especially with those. Well, the little hand sanding you do with those stars. That's when you're making the flags. Let's see. I had a question there I was going to ask you now. I don't remember what it was. Let's see, Mike, have you found a magic IPM rate you prefer for various mediums, wood species, plexi, etc., when doing 3D preferred cut rates?
I would say, I don't know if I'd say preferred. I just kind of play around with a little bit. You know, that's one of the nice things about having a pendant on your machine, is because you can kind of just on the fly either speed up or slow down your feed rate a little bit. But I mean, I would say probably most of the time I'm in the 80 to 90 inches per minute range, depending on what I'm doing.
Okay. And also, oh, I know what it was I was going to ask you. You know, you mentioned you have the laser, and you run yours. I mean, you keep yours mounted next to the router all the time, right? And run it that way?
Yeah.
Okay. I know there's always some people that have said, well, I don't want to do that because, you know, when you're cutting, you'll get dust on the laser lens and stuff like that. But I don't think that's really that big of an issue, is it?
I haven't. I have, you know, I had it set up the same way on my X-Carb, and then the entire time I've had the Garage Works, I've had that laser on there, and I've never had an issue. You know, I do have dust collection set up for when I'm running the spindle. So, you know, with a dust shoe, you know, running dust collection. But it's a wood shop, you know. Are you going to do more damage putting the laser on and off again every time you want to use it, or just by leaving it there and, you know, maybe getting a little dust on it? I always thought that it was better for the laser just to kind of leave it mounted and not play around with it.
Okay. And of course, Jerry Brown is asking, what kind of bits do you use? Or what kind of bits do you run?
You know, I started off just getting kind of the Chinese bits on eBay, and I think I still have some of these kind of smaller 1/8 inch shank bits. But I have a mix of a lot of them. You know, Amana. I don't know. I have a mix of a bunch of different ones. I have noticed that some of the more kind of mid-price bits do last a little bit longer, and I think are a little bit better of an investment. You know, so I've kind of gotten away from of buying the cheaper bits, except for the really small. Like, I mean, I have some. My smallest end mill is 0.0312 of an inch. You you know, I mean, this thing was like a couple bucks on eBay. You know, this bit you're guaranteed to eventually break off the tip, so it's just not worth it to try to buy a better one or more expensive one. But I've been trying to play around with some of the other bits, some of the different coatings and stuff like that I have on it, but I really don't get too scientific with the stuff, so it's not like I would be very good on doing a kind of a comparison on which ones really last longer.
Yeah. You know, I get asked that a lot about different kinds of router bits, and there's a lot of good brands. You know, they're talking about Whiteside, made in North Carolina.
Yeah, Whiteside makes some good bits. I have several of theirs.
Whiteside is good. Freud is pretty good. Let's see.
Got some of theirs.
What's another one? Amana.
Yep.
I use the Amana bits for my when I'm doing 3D carving. All those bits, and probably my favorite for just, you know, regular old up spiral end mills is CMTs.
Yep, got some of those.
I've been a big fan of CMT, you know, the blades and other stuff they sell. And I found, at least for when I cut in the Gatton CNC kits, I've used Whiteside, Freud, CMT, and just some bargain thing. And the CMT seem to give me the longest, you know, they seem to stay sharp longer than the rest of them. You know, and I'm cutting plywood and glue and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let's see. I'm trying to look through the thing here.
Yeah, there's a question about controlling the laser. And no, I don't use any kind of PWM signal to control it. So the way I have mine wired up is it's either on or it's off. You know, especially with only being a 2-watt laser, a 2.8 watt laser. So the way I have it set up is I use the feed rate to kind of adjust how deep of a burn I get. So if I want more of a lighter burn, I'll have a faster feed rate, or if I want it to burn a little deeper, I just kind of slow the feed rate down. But that's the only kind of control I use for the laser.
Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you, I don't see it in the chat, but have you tried milling aluminum with your Garage Works?
No, I haven't. I really haven't had anything that's come up that I needed to mill it. So
yeah, I didn't use the Garage Works. I did it on my Gatton over there because of the spindle. But I cut some of those little template things for Mike Fulton, that backgammon thing he was doing, and those turned out pretty nice, I guess, or at least he said they worked well.
I mean, that's on my list. I'd like to play around with some aluminum and stuff like that, but you know, usually when it comes down to projects, I end up doing the projects that is, you know, kind of attached to a paycheck. So
yeah, and for you folks watching, that's part of the reason why I'm, you know, trying to put a Garage Works back here, is so I can do some more videos, because I get asked questions all the time. And, you know, it's easy for me to say, well, yeah, you know, you can cut aluminum if you want, you know. I mean, obviously, if aluminum is your main material you're cutting, you need to be looking at a CNC mill instead of a router. But, you know, I get asked all the time about aluminum and different soft metals and, you know, will a Garage Works do it and all that. And it's easy for me to say, yeah, it'll do it, but people want to see it. So I'm going to, you know, try to get one set up here and be doing different videos of cutting different materials and different things, so they can just see what the heck one will do. Somebody mentioned, I think it was maybe Jerry Brown, mentioned a Yonico. I guess I'm saying that right. I bought a Yonico bit off of Amazon, and the reason I wanted it because I wanted one that had extra cutting length, and that's the only one I could find. I haven't tried it yet though, so let me know in the chat, guys, what you think of those. So,
tell you what, my last new bit that I've been playing with is this diamond drag bit, this diamond compression drag bit. That is fun to play with.
You said you used that on glass?
Yep. I mean, the detail that it'll etch into glass is pretty amazing. You can do some pretty intricate engravings right on glass, and it does beautifully.
That's one thing I haven't ever tried. It's just nothing ever come up where I've needed to do that, so I haven't bought one.
Yeah, so one of my last client projects I just finished was a display box for a 1911 pistol, and so I made a custom foam, inset on the inside of the box. Made this really nice looking box out of walnut with it was a walnut box with Peruvian walnut spines, but then they wanted a glass panel in the lid and with a design engraved into it. And there was some pretty intricate details in the design that they had given me, and it did really good. So just with having the detail in the glass, it just really added something extra to the project you don't see a lot.
Well, you know what you should do, Mike. Of course, it's easy for me to say it because it would probably take, well, I don't know how long it would take. But you know how everybody makes those really cool Aztec calendars? Just think if you made one of those etched on glass.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I wonder how long that would take. Do you have to run considerably slower when you're doing that, or pretty much the same kind of feed rate?
I think I slowed it down a little bit. I think I was running around 50 or so on it. And there was I saw a question there real quick about the depth of it. So when you're doing a drag bit, it's got a spring compression in there. So now I don't know if this is the correct answer, but what I did is when I set my Z-axis, Z0, I had it compressed a bit, just a little bit, and then I used the quick engrave feature in Aspire, and I think the quick engrave's in all of Vectric's versions, but and that way, when it came down, it would kind of compress the bit just a little bit, and you have your spindle or router turned off when it's doing it, so it's purely just dragging that diamond bit over the glass.
Yeah, that's very cool. Corey says that was mean of me to say that because now you'll probably do that, make a Aztec calendar on glass.
Well,
I just wonder how small you could make one and still get that detail.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, there we go.
So for one, I mean, just for those people watching that might not know, the Aztec calendar is the required project all CNCists must make. Yeah, I mean, I bet you could get it pretty small. So I will definitely be playing around with that one. So
okay, well, you get one made, let me know. We'll have you back on the show, and you can show us how well that thing turned out. We have had just an awesome crowd over there. Let me give a few shout outs here as they scroll by. We've got Larry Duggar in the house, Corey, Eric from Gussie Banjos, Hobby's Wood Shop, Jerry Brown, Jeff Connor I saw in there earlier, Dale Ludlam. I think I saw Becca Miller sneaking in there. Just had an awesome crowd over there. We've had about 90 folks watching tonight, so that's this little Saturday thing's gaining some momentum, I think. Robert Crow in the house, Mark Lindsay CNC, Kevin Calhoun, good bunch of folks over there. Andrew Haig, how you doing, Andrew? Crosscut Creations. I tell you what, I got to say I'm disappointed you're not going to be at the show though, because I was hoping to see you at Hickory last year, and you didn't get to make it to Hickory either.
Yeah. Well, hopefully my schedule here in a couple months will be changing a little bit. My current position in the Army, I travel a lot, so I'm on the road a lot. So the rumor is that here in a couple months I'll be switching jobs to a nice little staff position. So I might be stuck behind a desk a little bit more, but hopefully it'll mean I'll stay home and be able to pick trips I want to go on. So.
Yep. Bob Heltbrattle, he's been out there too. He's asking, when is the Atlanta show? It is Friday, March 16th through Sunday, the 18th.
Yeah, and if, you know, I've gone the last 2 years, and if you have the ability to go, I would recommend it. It is a lot of fun. It's great to kind of, you know, rub elbows and talk shop with a bunch of good guys and gals. So.
Yeah, and not to mention it's just a great wood show, period. You know, I mean, we always talk about the show and how cool it is because everybody goes and all the YouTubers and all that stuff, but I've been going to that show way before I knew anything about YouTube, and it's always been a favorite of mine. I do like it a little bit less that they keep the venue over at Cobb Galleria, because I was watching something on the local news just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and Spaghetti Junction in Atlanta was the #1 in the country for most congested area, and the area where the Cobb Galleria is #2. It's right there where they built the new Braves Stadium and all, and it's, I mean, I guess for the guys that are coming out of town or staying in a hotel, it's not a big deal, but for somebody like me that lives close enough to drive back and forth to the show, I hate all that traffic. Of course, it's bad anywhere you go in Atlanta. So, all right, Michael Chips are in the house. Michael, I was plugging your CNCs, your laptops earlier. Also, we got like 93 folks watching now. Let me mention once again. Since we got this many folks watching, I mentioned at the top of the show, and some of you may have missed it, but you can see I got like a clean slate behind me here. If anybody wants their little sticker, or if you get into the trading card thing like Mike Fulton's doing, if y'all want those displayed on my little wall here, you know, once I get the machine built, I'll make sure I put the stickers where they're not blocked by the machine. They'll be seen during these shows and whatever videos I do. So send me your latest and greatest sticker. And of course, I've already got all my sponsors listed back there on.
Good to get those in first.
Yeah. Got to thank the sponsors. But anybody got any other questions? Okay, we got, I'm not sure who this is. BLCK, I guess that's Blacksmith. Do any controllers run off of USB instead of parallel? That's, there's a lot of, I mean, you know, the UC100 CNC is a motion controller. Maybe they were asking that because I was just talking about the laptops.
Yeah, and there's a couple of them. I can't think offhand the other companies that make them. There's a couple people that make a USB motion controller. You you know, I use an Ethernet controller. There's several different companies that make Ethernet controllers. So I mean, there's definitely other options other than the parallel port out there. So
yeah, and I will say, you know, I've said this quite a bit here recently. Is, you know, for the longest time, I would always tell people, there's lots of old clunker computers. Grab you one, and you know you can use the Xylotex parallel port and all that. But having used, I have 2 of those UC100 motion controllers now. And even though in there in my garage, I have a desktop that I got from my buddy, Michael Chipser, that has a parallel cable. I don't use that. I mean, a parallel port. I don't use that. I use the UC100. It just seems to work smoother, less problems. So even if you've got an old clunker computer that's got a parallel port, I would still recommend getting either a UC100 or what is it, 300 or 4. You know, they got like a 300 or 400. Smooth Stepper makes a USB smooth stepper. They also make an Ethernet smooth stepper. I mean, there's lots of other stuff out there, but I would recommend go ahead and, you know, because they're not much. I think the UC100 is like $110 or something. I would recommend going ahead and getting that. That way you don't ever have to worry about if your computer crashes. You can drag a laptop out there or anything with a USB port and make it work. Any other questions for Mr. Merzke before I let him go here? We've had an awesome crowd here tonight. I don't see. Give it a second. Yeah, Mark Lindsay just made a good point. He says, make sure you get the real UC100, not the knockoffs from eBay. If you're not paying, you know, if you see something on eBay and it's $50, it's not the real deal. They used to be 115. I think they're about 110 now on Amazon. So, Todd H. CNC's asking if you ever served overseas.
I've never been stationed overseas. I mean, I've had quite a few trips over to Iraq, Afghanistan, and a lot of trips to Europe. Done quite a bit of traveling over the last 22 years.
All right, Mike, I'm going to let you answer this. Gussie Banjos is wanting to know, is my flag hanging the right, and he says WRIGHT, the right way in Dave's shop?
Well, is it backwards? Does your camera switch it?
Well, when I'm the way it's hanging, the blue is, the stars are in the upper left-hand corner.
Yep, that's how it should be.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, the reason I asked is some video screens swap.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if maybe somebody's screen is seeing it backwards or something.
But yes, when you hang the American flag vertically.
Well, I certainly didn't want to disrespect the flag, and I actually wasn't sure when I went to bring that out here, so I looked it up, and that's how I know it's the right way.
And that's the easiest way to remember is the Union will always be in the upper left-hand corner, no matter how displayed. So.
Yeah. So. Okay, so now we got the flag question out of the way. Okay, Mark says he can read my shirt just fine, so that it shouldn't be backwards then. Can you read my shirt, Mike? I can read yours, okay.
Yeah. That's a nice shirt. I got one just like it.
Yeah, they're awesome shirts. I mean, you know,
they are very comfortable.
I just updated my little spreadsheet. What is it? Spreadshirt store. We got all kinds of swag over there now. I got like shop aprons and all kinds of cool stuff. But okay, we're getting a bunch. Let's see, Mike. Thank you for your service to our country.
It's been my honor.
Let's see, Fusion 360 free hobby. I don't know all about that. I don't know much about Fusion 360. I had a friend of mine that lives right around the corner here. He called me the other day and he was trying to model something up in Fusion 360 and not much help there.
Yeah, and I played around with it for a little bit, and I know that it's, you know, it's a lot more powerful than, you know, something like SketchUp. But I really kind of just gave up playing with it just because, you know, when I'm modeling something up in SketchUp, it's usually just to kind of, for planning purposes or just to kind of show a client, you know, what something will look like as far as like the dimensions of a you know, piece of furniture or something. So I really don't need something that powerful.
Yeah. Eric at Gussie Banjos is, I guess this is a question. He's got a question mark. It says CNC giveaway at the show with on-site build. I guess he's talking about the Atlanta. You'll just have to come to the Atlanta show and find out. That's all I can tell you. I'll be there. The Southern Woodworkers, I might as well give them a plug while I'm on here. They're going to have another booth. They just got some awesome shirts. I haven't got mine yet, but I got it ordered.
On order.
So they're going to have a booth. So I'll be at the Atlanta show for sure. Friday and Saturday. Sunday's always iffy. There's usually not a lot going on Sunday, unless you want to hang around and do that giveaway that Alex Snodgrass does.
And do you mind if I throw a little plug in there for the Southern Woodworkers?
You can plug anything you want, buddy.
All right. Yeah. Hey, you know, that shirt he was talking about, you know, we just put up a new shirt for Southern Woodworkers, and it's going to be we're starting to do an annual commemorative T-shirt. So the idea was, instead of trying to get corporate sponsors or get other people to support the Southern Woodworkers, which for those that don't know, it's a kind of a community-based woodworking group, you know, that's, you know, for people based kind of in the, you know, that live in the southern states. But so every year we're going to come up with a different T-shirt that'll have a different design, but something different that you'll see on this shirt where you don't see on a lot of shirts is on the back of it. We've asked for 30 different people in the community to donate money towards the shirt, and in exchange, their logo is on the back of it.
I think there's actually 36 on it, isn't there?
Is it 36 now? Yeah, you're right.
I think there's 36 spots.
Yeah. So you know, and so obviously the you know, the money for the sale of the T-shirts will also go you know, as part of the fundraiser. So things for like the booth. So any of the stuff at the booth, you'll see some of that's paid for from the proceeds of the shirt. So definitely head over to southernwoodworkers.com. You'll see the store on there. Get your 2018 shirt. It'll be available all year, but once the year's over, we'll start working on the 2019. Yep.
Cool shirt. Like I said, I got mine ordered yesterday or day before, whatever it was. Looking forward to getting that. So hope everybody, or hope at least some of you, if you're close to the Atlanta area, hope you can make the trip. Like Mike said, it's of all the, you know, it's the woodworking show. It's kind of like a circuit. They travel around all different. Well, not so much on the West Coast, but all up and down the East Coast and Florida. Right now it's in Tampa. But it is of all of those shows, the one in Atlanta is probably the biggest, and it's just a lot of woodworkers right around this area. So anyway, if you can make it, make sure you look me up. I'll be there, like I said, for sure, Friday and Saturday, maybe Sunday, hanging out, and I'm not hard to miss. Probably be at the Southern Woodworkers slot, and I imagine I'll be watching a few lathe demonstrations. Start to get down that rabbit hole. So anyhow, well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a great show.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Had a lot of awesome questions over there in the chat. And I expect you to come back when you get the Aztec counter on glass. Or I know somebody said they might try one on a mirror. That'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I've thought about doing a couple different projects. I've seen laser engraving on mirrors, so curious to try the using the diamond drag bit.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like I said, we've had a good crowd all night tonight. And thanks, Mike, for coming in. I've mentioned this in the forum and all that, and I think I might have mentioned it here, but I'll mention it again. You know, if you'd like to come on the show and kind of have, you know, get a chance to plug your whether your YouTube channel, your woodworking shop, whatever it is, just send me an email. Let me know. There's plenty of slots open. We're just, you know, this is only the third show. We're just getting started. Some of the folks that are in the chat tonight are going to be on future shows, but still a few slots open for a couple open for February, I think. And then we'll just fill it up as it goes. But good chance for you to come on here and show your stuff. So get your webcam and get on here. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to everybody later. Everybody have a great weekend.